What's up, everybody? We're back with another Jesterbell video. Uh, this one is more about DC Comics and how DC Comics cringe attempt at a comic for girls, quote unquote. Yeah, I mean, I love Jesterbell and I love her takes, and she keeps up with like certain things that my brain just cannot handle anymore after a certain point. I usually rely on certain content creators that I trust that will still follow certain comics that I just refuse to dive on into unless something occurs that I am reading that I will be doing a review on, so I can talk about it at that point. But I don't actively seek these things out because I just, at a certain point, certain individuals get into these comic book spaces and they ruin a lot of stuff. That's why people tend to go for, elseworld stuff rather than the mainline comics because they're so filled with, activism or propaganda bullcrap, more than likely. Or they go to indie comics that isn't filled to the brim with this kind of crap. Pandery crap, no less. But before I continue, please do me a huge favor. Like this video, leave a comment below. Let me know what you guys think. Follow Jesterbell on her channel. Follow me on my YouTube and Twitch channel as I review content, react to videos, and stream video games. So without further ado, let's check out Jesterbell.
If there's anything you guys love, I've found, it is watching me in abject pain. And that is what I went through the other day when I decided to bite the bullet and read the new DC comic, Sirens Love Hurts. Now, you might remember that I swore off reading DC comics because I just couldn't take it anymore. But, Absolute Batman, right? Absolute Batman, the high-selling DC comic right now. The only selling DC comic right now. Isn't that amazing? Aren't I reading that? Well, you can become so disillusioned by the rest of DC comics that you don't want to read anymore. But this comic, on the other hand, got so controversial, and I saw the panels everywhere, that on a boring, snowy afternoon, I decided to give it a go and just see what the fuss was all about. What were they doing to these characters that used to be beloved to me? The answer, in the comic itself.
There are kitchens.
Good Lord.
Far worse than I imagined, but I want to explore that here, and exploring that while people are out there enjoying Absolute Batman, rot festers at DC Comics and how they treat their other characters and the things that they allowed to be published. But don't worry, I didn't spend a red cent on this comic. But yes, Sirens Love Hurts is a new comic by Teenie Howard. Now, Teenie Howard is
I was watching a podcast. I think maybe it was Nerd Erotic. Like somebody was mentioning, I'm pretty sure it was Chris Gore. I could be wrong. But somebody mentioned that when it comes to these comics or TV shows, and people make snap judgments and like tell themselves they're not going to engage or buy it or whatever, and some I argue it's like don't judge a book by its cover, or you need to give it a chance. But it's just that there's certain tropes or certain bullet points when you notice that falls in line with things that is going to end up badly. Like what was that? Short comic thing about like Starfire's goth girl is pretty much like a self-insert for the author. And you can look at the author, you can just tell like, okay, clearly you got an agenda. Clearly you just, really don't really care about comics like that. You're just using it as an excuse to try to, write your little therapy session right on the page. There's certain little things, red flags. Let's go with red flags. There's certain flags you see that you just inherently tell what kind of story is going to tell. If you got like a Klingon in a dress, you know what kind of show you're going to be end up watching. It's just like it's like happens time after time. So humans, we pick up pattern recognitions. So if we see like a particular thing with features that happens, consecutively, then by the fifth or sixth or seventh time, and we see certain features that mimic past content before that had those features on it, then we just gonna back away because we know what we're gonna walk into. Now we might be genuinely surprised, but it's gonna be rare, like the Anya Taylor-Joy's Mad Max prequel. I was like, oh, it was surprisingly good, but on the surface, it didn't make enough money because on the surface, at first, people thought it was going to be the same old girl boss crap because too many of the previous girl boss crap had that same stuff that they promoted with Anya Taylor-Joy. That's why people are backpedaling, trying to win back the men, because y'all let certain weirdos into these spaces that should not be in these spaces, and they ruining your companies. May not be fair, but like y'all kind of set the precedent.
Notorious name to comic book fans and to me because she's a writer who's been there for some years now, maybe 7 years writing mainstream comics. And the reason why she perplexes us, and people are pretty united on this, is it's very clear that this is a lady who never read superhero comics and they aren't her passion yet. And her books that she has put on by Marvel and DC do not sell. In fact, historically, she has low sales for all the books she's put on. Yet, she keeps getting work. They just won't stop hiring her to put her on books.
Because people are doing the hiring are probably like activists themselves. Or worse yet, they don't want to look like they're being misogynist or and not trying to get canceled or fired. So instead of like turning them away like a responsible person, they, let these people in. This is why some level of gatekeeping needs to happen. It has to be guardrails, because clearly she has not had interest in reading anything traditional Marvel and DC comics. But let's say she has written stuff before. It's probably some kind of indie thing that if you probably read her material, you can tell that it's probably very feminist activism stuff. Nothing with any substance or nuance at the very least, or something that has nothing to do with any type of feminism or activism. It's just like a straight up superhero thing, or like a slice of life thing at the very least. So they're like, she has some genuine good stuff that she got praised a lot for from a multitude of people. Let's give her a chance. But in my opinion, you shouldn't let people like this in unless you see some proven work that isn't about her clear activism. Or you should at least ask, because nowadays it's just like it's poison to companies at this point, because these people cannot leave their political leanings to the door and come in neutral, work with a multitude of people with various different viewpoints that's not her own, and actually work with editors that will have the cojones to tell her this is not working, trim this down, leave this out, add more of this in, blah blah blah, so we can have like a cohesive material that everybody will like and not just a fragment of society. I gotta say, we gotta have some level of gatekeeping, or better yet, calling of these companies of people like this. If they can get with the program, or at least understanding how true storytelling work, and knowing that you're working at a superhero comic company that is trying to gain a multitude of readers and not just your hyper specific fan base that half of which probably not read a comic ever. Yeah, bad idea. They need to go. Severely, they need to go.
Why? Does she have some dirt on DC Comics? Is she just a friend of theirs? What is the reason? Or are they just putting her on the characters that they care nothing about? Whatever you want to take it as. But anyway, Teenie Howard is working with artist Babstar on this new 4-issue Black Label.
And that's why I think if you're reading comics, you need, because I started doing that at least a year and a half ago at this point, figuring out any new comic, not like the older stuff, any new comic, search the, look up the writer and comb through like that writer's work history, or even better yet, if they got social media, check out their social media. And if they got like all these gender pronouns on it, or all these different types of flags on there, you know, outside of maybe the U.S. flag, maybe, then you know who you're bringing in as an interview, and see like if he or she is hireable or not. If they got all that kind of crap on their Twitter, then you should second guess on even bringing them into an interview as a new comic book writer, because they cannot, or at the very least you could ask them, can you leave this stuff at the door, because we're trying to gain more readers from multitude of lifestyles, multitude of points of views that probably don't align with you or people that you know. If you can handle that, great. If not, this is probably not a business for you. That's what should have been done from the jump. But that's where certain progressives like really lean into like that emotional manipulation and hide behind that to like, oh, you must hate women, blah blah blah. Like, oh no, I don't hate women. Here, I will bring you aboard, no problem. And let certain people like this run rampant with no checks and balances. No wonder that now I encourage people to be mindful of what kind of comic they're reading, and just like with like any particular video game or a movie or a TV show, be super mindful, especially if you got kids. Be super mindful of what you're bringing into your household or allowing certain people to read, because it's not going to be good.
Book called Sirens Love Hurts, starring Catwoman, Harley Quinn, Poison Ivy, and Black Canary. A book that I think is supposed to make DC Comics appealing to girls, that Teenie Howard pitched as DC comic characters meet Sex and the City, which I can imagine is just a...
And you know what's ironic? I'm supposed to be speeding this up anyway. You know what's ironic? That women who are into comics were already into comics the way it has always been. You didn't have to try hard to sell it to women. Women already was engaged. The true, female comic book readers was already into this kind of stuff. You didn't have to sell to them. Same issue with Marvel and DC. Like, Marvel specifically, how can we win the female fan base? You already had them. Any girls who are not into it, you're not going to win them by trying to pander to them, because they wasn't going to carry the way. If they got on board or got interested, great. If not, c'est la vie. But this is very pandery to certain females that don't read comics at all, and those who are into comics, most of them, like Jesterbell, looking at this like, what this cringy mess is that you're trying to sell to me. Like, Sex and the City and comic books shouldn't really go together. And It's just like it's not to say you can't make a female-led comic. It's been happening a multitude of times for many years. But it's just like the way you're doing it seems pandering. You just can't, like, why you need to do all this, extra stuff. Like, trying to make them like Sex and the City. Sex and the City is its own entity that female superheroes don't behave like. Black Canary will not behave like anybody from Sex and the City. If you compare, good example, if you compare Black Canary from like Justice League animated show and you look at something like Carrie from Sex and the City, vastly two different things. You cannot mix the two.
Dream for DC Comics fans everywhere, and the exact thing that they want to see with these characters, the exact way that they want these characters to be used. But yes, this comic by Teenie Howard is not only cringeworthy, but it's also ironically offensive and pretty misogynistic as well. But the only way to get through this, I think, is to read it ourselves. So let's get started by what you will experience if you open up the comic book Siren's Love Hurts, which, by the way, DC Comics is publishing in the midst of basking in the glory of a singular comic book absolute Batman. So the comic opens up with a girl in therapy, where she seems to be just struggling with depression.
Oh my god, and that's another thing. You can tell it's like a very feminized thing because women are super into this whole therapy stuff. They're the ones that often use therapy speak more than men do. So if this is already a bad sign. Like I said, there's always going to be like certain red flags. This is one of them. Oh, therapy speak. Oh, because I know there's been pushing therapy, but it's just like, in the past few years, but it's kind of been at the detriment of society rather than to its benefit. Because now it's like, only thing it's done is give people new words that they half the time don't know what it really means, like narcissist. They don't really help anything.
And loneliness, and she's seeing a therapist on her birthday. After she leaves the therapist, she is promptly murdered by a mysterious figure. But now we are introduced to some of our main characters in the story, Selina Kyle and Black Canary. Selina is meeting Black Canary for lunch, but she surprises her by having Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy there, and Black Canary doesn't want to eat with them because they're thieves, criminals, villains practically. But for whatever reason or another, Black Canary agrees to dine with them for lunch. Now this is where the comic gets ironically misogynistic, despite being made for girls apparently, because despite being these being three iconic DC supervillains and Black Canary being the superhero, they all act like negative female stereotypes, where all these three ladies are all so materialistic and shallow. Because Black Canary for some reason agrees to have lunch with two criminals just so they can fawn over her and gossip about her engagement ring from Green Arrow. So you wanted to see this engagement ring? Yes! Type 2A, flawless clarity, incredible color. I want to eat it. It's ridiculous, ethically sourced, but 4 carats? It's so heavy it screws up my left hook. It's like $1 million brass knuckle, I guess, but it's not really me. Does that bother you? It would bother me. I don't know. Ollie's my best friend. I want to be with him forever, but this ring, it's just so wedding. So rich girl.
That little piggy booked a villa.
Oh my god. That's why, people go to these Elseworld stories to get, like, traditional comic stories rather than this crap. Like, what is this?
In this comic, Dinah Lance, the Black Canary, is portrayed as a woman who...
That's what I'm talking about. Female pandering. I'm not even sure why more women are not insulted by this.
Is so shallow, she gets a ring from her billionaire fiance.
I mean, sure, women will get happy for a lady who got proposed to, and yes, they will show off the ring, but they definitely over exaggerate the level of excitement going goo goo gaga over it. It's kind of like, okay, it's just
say, but she's worried that it's too wedding, too rich girl. Oh, like it was from someone who didn't know you. No, I mean, kind of. It's just a ring, People who read gossip pages care more about it than I do. All I care about, Black Canary and Green Arrow together forever. You were just complaining that it was too rich girl. Who are these characters? This is not Black Canary. And what shirt is she wearing? Why does it say Great Frog? I don't understand. Anyway, moving on. That's sweet for you. I love a rich man, but I never stick around. You love that himbo you've been seeing? Who, Bruce Wayne? No, but he's polite and he spoils me. Like I said, just negative, ironically misogynistic stereotypes where all of these women are just portrayed as obsessed with money, men, and relationship gossip. Oh, it's too rich girl. Oh, that himbo Bruce Wayne. Oh, at least he's got money. I don't need a man to spoil me. I can steal or buy anything I want. All I really need is my peace. She ain't kidding. She's on the couch watching zombie shows every night. Those people deserve to get eaten, and you go out every night. I'm healing. The Joker dumped me, and it ain't like I'm bringing people home. You brought a girl home last week. She followed me home. I had to feed her. What part of yourself did you feed her, Harley? Okay, we need to stop a minute here and explain something. How Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy are portrayed these days. Yes, they put Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy in a relationship for a while now, but here's the thing. In mainstream comics, it's supposedly an open relationship, a polyamorous relationship. Now, in mainstream comics, apparently the idea is that Harley and Ivy, it just would happen. They just kept hooking up with other women, so they just sort of accepted it. But for some reason, despite the idea that mainstream comics want to sell us with that Harley and Ivy are okay with each other hooking up with other women, they keep portraying it as if Ivy is embarrassed when Harley catches her in the act, which she has at multiple times. Yes, they even wrote a comic where Harley wanted to watch Ivy doing it with another woman. Yes, this is what has happened to Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy. Remember those characters you used to watch on Batman the Animated Series as a kid?
I miss this version so much. I miss this version of Harley and Ivy so much. It's like, could have stuck with that. Remember when clearly these two used to be into men? It's not a bad thing necessarily. These two found a relationship with each other. That's fine. But then you got to take it too far. And now it's just some gross obsession. And it's kind of like just living like it's like Woodstock. And they just banging everybody with no rhyme or reason. They don't know what to do with these characters. At least especially Harley. They don't know what to do with this character outside of either making her Deadpool or just some kind of gross sex feminist thing. It's like no character outside of maybe like the Elseworld thing. Like she got the Harleen Quinzel Elseworld story. This one was pretty dang good. I think that's the last time I read a good Harley Quinn story. And this one came out like the early phases of the Black Label stuff DC puts out. Not too long after like the Batman Damned. But for the bulk of it, Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy, they do nothing new with these characters outside of like grossly obsessing over each other. There's no character arc anymore. It's like who's hooking up with who. It's just like a fetish books now, pretty much. It's just kind of like, and even if there's somebody had like a genuine idea for what they want to do with Harley and Ivy, some people who working in DC Comics company right now, they probably look at you sideways because they will be inserting their ideas like, hey, we got this kind of thing. You got to make her obsessed with Poison Ivy. Instead of like, no, I don't want to have her this weird thing with Poison Ivy. I got like this genuine idea with Harley Quinn, and she's on this little mission that's like all serious. She has a few quips here and there, but it's kind of like how she was in the 90s animated series. But she, has a particular mission. But no, they probably will have to undercut it with this nonsense that you're looking at right now. Or something from the Harley Quinn show. It's just like, that's what they stuck on right now. Make her a Harley Quinn show version. They completely even, at this point, they even abandoned the whole Margot Robbie version. Now they just kind of just stuck on the Harley Quinn version, and that's where she's stuck right now. And it's like, I really need that to be completely abandoned at this point.
This is what they've become now. As soon as they allowed for them to get in a relationship with each other, it was no holds barred, I guess. But here is the thing. Remember, Harley Quinn used to be this character obsessed with the Joker? That was the entire point of her character and her persona. But here's what people might don't understand. Harley was never obsessed with love and relationships specifically. And she was never, like, obsessed with men at that. She was just obsessed with the Joker. In fact, if you read most pre-New 52 comics, Harley didn't really prioritize or had much interest in getting into a relationship apart from the Joker. She was just obsessed with the Joker. The reason I say that now is it is so jarring because right now Harley is supposed to supposedly be bisexual, but they write her as a straight up lesbian because I've seen in mainstream comics that if Harley ever meets a guy who has interest in her, she seems disinterested, but she can't keep her hands off other women and falling in love immediately. Now, here's the thing about this comic. It is Black Label, and I'm not sure if they're doing the whole open relationship thing between Harley and Ivy again because I don't know if they're...
It's funny how that works, right? Because they don't want to cater to any kind of female... cater to like the male gaze at all, and if you want to lean into whole bisexual nature, you have to go all the way with it. There has to be some dude that catches her eye, but they can't do it because they want to do this one particular thing with Harley. I'm pretty sure there's some individuals that wanted to be full lesbian, but they might got some level of pushback on that, so they found like a happy medium, but writers since just wrote her into women interests and left it at that. No possibility with any particular man that might come into the picture that might be genuine of a good guy, and it kind of ruins the whole dynamic. I want somebody that actually has some courage to actually write in a man she actually falls for, and now actually have some arc and some depth to her that's not just woman-centered or just Ivy-centered. Oh, there's an actual genuine man that's not crazy like the Joker, but actually have some mutual interest with Harley Quinn. It might actually pursue something, but it might ruin this particular narrative they really are pushing super hard into Harley Quinn. That is an issue.
Technically in a relationship yet in the comic. I saw on the solicits they're supposed to fall in love later because we need that story again and again. But they portray Harley in this comic, as we're gonna see, as obsessed with women. Like she can't stop falling in love and hooking up with every hot lady she meets, it seems. And it's like, where did this come from? This was a character obsessed with the...
I know some lesbians. I even know like a couple of bisexuals, here and there. They're not so like, sure, they might find like other women very attractive, but they're trying to jump their bones every chance they get. They're not like drooling. They got some, at least some, either some couth to them, or they just can appreciate it from afar. But they ain't like this. This is like I said, this is pretty much fanfic. This is not even a comic anymore. Most Marvel and DC comics nowadays are not even comics anymore. They're pretty much fanfics for weirdos that's writing these.
Joker specifically, and somehow she evolved into being in a relationship with Poison Ivy, and now they're not even in a committed relationship with each other, but Harley has been redefined as just this crazy character where one of her defining elements is she just can't stop hooking up with other women. Something that we are going to see throughout this comic. Oh, and yes, did I mention Harley acts like a straight-up 10-year-old in this comic? Because there's nothing like mixing a highly sexualized character with childish behavior, don't you know? Anyway, back to this crappy story. So apparently, Selina only invited Black Canary for lunch so that they could sneak out behind her back and pull a heist together, which makes zero sense. If Selina wanted to distract Black Canary from the heist that they're about to pull, why wouldn't she go to lunch with her herself to distract her and have Harley and Ivy pull the heist, or have one of them distract her, or whatever have you? Why would she invite Black Canary to lunch and then sneak out literally right in front of her so that Black Canary is aware that they're going to pull a heist? She might not have even thought of it otherwise. It makes no sense. And guess what? She does catch them in this comic. But yeah, the three sirens go on a heist to try to steal some cash, and they run outside the building and find the woman who was murdered at the beginning. License is Julie Billings. It was just her birthday. Man, yeah, because Harley really cares about dead people right now, but don't worry, they're gonna have an explanation for that a little bit later. Even when Harley and Ivy are villains, they can't truly be villains anymore. So Black and Mary confront Selena Kyle for stealing, and Selena says,
and what kind of outfit they're putting Harley and Ivy in? It's kind of weird. It's like they got like distinct costumes. This wouldn't even make it into like action figures. But yeah, they're not even. The whole perversion aside, they can't allow Harley and Ivy be true villains, because they got to be these feminist icons and female villains, just like with like certain Disney remake movies. It's like, oh my god, it's like she's misunderstood, there's a reason, she was manipulated. It's not, they can't be full-blown just a-hole villains and embracing that. No, because it kind of messes up this particular agenda they want to push with these particular characters. You can get away with something like that with Catwoman, because she has a history of walking that, going in and out of the side of good and evil here and there. But these two, no. You can only slightly get away with that with Harley Quinn, because she has like a warped sense of some kind of morality, but she would not hesitate to do harm, at least to those who deserve it. But they really try to push this hero narrative onto this, like, oh, she can't be a full-blown villain because females, they're misunderstood. It's like, then you don't know how to write a comic character. You don't know how to write comics in general if you can't make a layered character that makes sense for the reader.
It's just money, and these men are pigs. So they fight, and the sirens escape, and then we go back to the sirens' hideout, I guess. And they're talking about the girl who was murdered last week. The reporter says, Julie Billings, age 23, reportedly had a history of depression, which leads police to consider whether these wounds were self-inflicted. Harley gets offended and says, I hate when they say that kind of crap. Crazy girls like me get murdered too.
Relationships are tricky, because love...
and on-site labs that get...
What? He didn't say she was crazy. He said she struggled with depression, and Harley took offense to that on the behalf of crazy people. What is Teenie Howard trying to say here about what she thinks about people with depression? So Harley feels bad and has been thinking about her all work. Ivy too, actually. What? These are supposed to be criminals and murderers. They're only criminals when it's convenient to this writer. 1 minute it's okay for them to steal because it's from men who are pigs, and the second they're showing strong empathy for a person who was murdered. Ivy and Harley are notorious murderers, and this isn't mainstream comics. There's
it's lack of consistency. Let's see, this is why we need gatekeeping. If people come into these kind of spaces, need to have some level of understanding and respect for the material they're walking into. They got to understand that, okay, if you're going to write like a comic with Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy, you need to understand their origin stories and their track records and try to maintain that consistency. Sure, you can have them involved in trying to catch the murderer, but I think it would help if I was writing it, have this woman who was murdered somehow tied with them so they have some kind of personal interest. Because if it was a complete stranger, Harley and Ivy would not give two craps. We know they won't give two craps about a person they don't know, but if they happen to be, let's say, a girl they hooked up with one of them before, and then like, oh, she hooked up with Poison Ivy one time for a one-night stand last week, but then found she's been murdered. Now Ivy has an invested interest, and by extension, Harley will have an invested interest. Boom! Now they care about what happened. Easy fix.
Supposed to still be criminals in this story. But Selena tries to find out more information about her by talking to Batman. You saw him again? Spill, cat! Yada, yada, yada. Batman gives him a tip that maybe it's Calendar Man. Harley says, so back to Batman. Is he polite? Does he spoil you? Can we go before the houseplant changes her mind? So they go out on the town that night to the club to find more about this girl who had been murdered. Tell me you're not texting Bruce Wayne, Selena. It's funny, Ivy. I'm only inviting him because it's funny. Boo, I'm so sick of rich men. What are they wearing here? It looks like they all shopped at Shein and put something together for this nightclub. What is Harley wearing? You couldn't tell me that was Harley Quinn if you paid me. I bet Brucey would show up to be polite to spoil you. We'll see. Yeah, that's what women are all about. That's what Teenie Howard thinks these DC comic characters should be all about and what girls want to read about. Men, riches, rings, engagements, all of that. That is all that Teenie Howard thought needed to be brought to these characters in order to make them appealing to women. I think the singer tonight is some hot.
I think the author who looks the way she does, I don't even think she even knows women, let alone men.
Chick, Wayne's kind of a bleep boy, ain't he? That's just a front. He never even tried to. Never? What a weirdo. Even I've tried. Because they portray Harley as a woman who just likes to hook up with every other woman she meets. And don't worry, they'll get to Poison Ivy later. But no, the big singer at the club tonight is, wouldn't you know it, Black Canary. And that doesn't bode well for the Sirens, who just got into a fight with her. So Black Canary and Selena get into an argument, and eventually they come to the conclusion that maybe they're gonna have to work together, and it would be better for everyone trying to solve the mystery. Harley says, have we considered that she's really pretty? Harley wants to get with Black Canary now. So Black Canary does her song and then goes backstage where we meet Oliver Queen.
Clearly no self-control whatsoever. I'm not saying that you can't find her attractive, but doggone it. It's like you don't even, I don't even know if this writer even knows how lesbians work or bisexuals work.
Who apparently is working with Black Canary to solve the mystery of the murders. But Harley pulls Black Canary backstage and gets angry with Black Canary for working with Green Arrow. He tells Superman about us, and we're in deep doo-doo.
Infantilizing.
A middle-aged woman wrote that line from an adult female character. Anyway, so yes, Harley does not want Black Canary to be working with Green Arrow, or he might tell his Justice League friends like Superman on them. You know, Superman, Batman, and all these other Justice League members, including Green Arrow, I think would be far more invaluable to be solving a murder mystery than Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy. There's no way Black Canary would ever agree to work with Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy over... No, what? Wait, she agrees? Black Canary tells Green Arrow that he is not allowed to work with them on this because she's working with some people who don't trust heroes, which makes him mad and walks away and puts a little damper on their relationship. But why the heck would Black Canary abandon getting help from the likes of Green Arrow, Superman, Batman, and all these other Justice League heroes over just so she can work with criminals Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy? So anyway, they go from one club to another club to continue trying to solve this mystery because I think that this comic is just a big excuse to fantasize and self-insert about going clubbing with the girls. So they go to this club where supposedly the murder victim worked. They see a hot lady.
This look kind of reminds me of the new costume for Hela in Marvel Rivals. The whole hat and everything like that. That's immediately what I'm thinking of. Either that or Lady Demetress from Resident Evil. It's the hat.
Sitting down at another table, and Harley freaks out. Is this where I get a hot rich mommy? Where do I send my resume? I'm beginning to think that this is punishment for anyone out there who has ever liked Harley Quinn. And she used to be my favorite character of all time. I ask you again, how do we go from Harley Quinn is the Joker's mole, someone who's obsessed with the Joker, and this silly cartoon villain on a kid's show in the 90s, to Harley Quinn is obsessed with every woman she sees and wants to get a hot, rich mommy? So anyway, they see the Calendar Man, and this comic is still going on. We still got a bit left, and so they go after him to try to get the Calendar Man. But Harley is still obsessing over the latest woman that she saw. Don't make me leave before getting hot mommy's number. That's my future ex-wife. then we get the reveal of all of this new group of sirens suited up, ready to get the Calendar Man who's supposedly been murdering these women. And these are how they are dressed in this comic. These are their super suits. Look at how Harley is dressed. What is that? Is that Harley Quinn? What is the resemblance here? Why is her hair pink in this version? I don't understand it. I cannot recognize any of these characters. So Harley makes a joke about killing someone, but Ivy reminds Dinah that no, it was the Joker. It was the Joker. That wasn't Harley. It was Joker. It was the Joker who was responsible for all of the murders when Harley was with him, not Harley. Harley has definitely committed murders, and she definitely brainwashed and helped torture a child into insanity. But it's a Black Label comic. Never mind that they're trying to erase Harley's crimes in everything now. Never mind that Harley would have been an accomplice in all of Joker's murders as well. So anyway, they hear a scream, they try to catch the killer, but they're too late again. But the evidence is building that it might be Calendar Man after all in charge of all of the murders. Harley, stay with the body. Yeah, I wouldn't be leaving Harley Quinn with the body, just saying. So they failed, and they leave Black Canary with the dead girl to make sure that the cops treat her with respect because they haven't been doing that. And a mysterious figure watches from the shadows, ready to pounce in our next issue because we have 3 issues left of this crap. What can I say about this? This comic is just straight up degrading. A comic made supposedly for women, yet it reduces all of the DC Comics characters into negative stereotypes. These 4 squealing women who are obsessed with relationships and talking about relationships and men and rings and engagements and all kind of stuff like that. It's not just embarrassing, but it's actually kind of offensive. Like, oh, I know how to get women to read DC Comics. We'll make everything shallow and materialistic. Nothing about this was funny. None of the characters were recognizable or acted in character. And the depictions of Harley Quinn, I just can never believe what they've done to her. Every time I look back, how did we go from being Joker's sidekick in a silly onesie, jester suit to this pink-haired, big pantsed girl who constantly obsesses and wants to hook up with as many women as she can. I'm going to offend people here, but Harley Quinn used to be straight. She used to just be interested in men, not obsessed or anything. She was just obsessed with the Joker. And without him, she wasn't really desperate for a relationship. I think she dated one other character apart from the Joker in pre-New 52 comics. So how did she get recontextualized where she's supposed to be bisexual, I guess now? But where apparently DC Comics says officially she's bisexual, but they just use her to hook up with as many women as possible to the point of fetishizing that, and even in mainstream comics using the cuck fetish with her as she sees Ivy with other women and apparently wants to. I know I'm branching out to other comics at this point, but it's like they find new lows to go with Harley each time, and these are unrecognizable characters from the DC Comics hero and the Batman villains that they're supposed to be. So in conclusion here, look, I know that people out there are enjoying Absolute Batman, but here is my problem. The success of Absolute Batman is used to overshadow and ignore all of the rest of DC Comics failings. The Absolute line is the only thing that is selling right now. The Batman is the only character that sells. If you look at the comic book industry as a whole, it's Batman comics. The only Marvel comic that was really able to break out last year was Batman and Deadpool, another Batman comic. But just keeping it to DC Comics. Yeah, and even aside from the Absolute stuff, which generally are really, really good, there's like the DC KO that's happening, and in my opinion, it's some issues are good, others are very kind of boring. So it's just like hit and miss with it. But yeah, generally speaking, the Absolute line is the only ones that pretty much are consistent and are killing it right now. So I only just recently starting to pick up some like the Absolute Martian Manhunter. Now I have my own personal issues with Absolute Green Lantern, but generally speaking, it's still like, in terms of the writing, has been like, really, really good. So yeah, that's a real big problem. DC Comics' line is in shambles. There's nothing that people are talking about other than Absolute Batman. But with Absolute Batman's success, it still allows them to shove out garbage like this and treat their other characters like this and still get away with having a little Batman cameo in there. And that's why I can't feel good about Absolute Batman, and I haven't gone back to reading it because the rest of DC Comics just hurts me so much. It hurts me to see these characters used like this. It even offends me as a woman a bit that you're leaning into all of the negative stereotypes here about women in terms of what will get them to read DC DC Comics, and you're destroying characters that men and women both liked out there in order to do it, and we have to see them reduced into this. Which is why I don't feel great about celebrating and supporting Absolute Batman if DC Comics is going to bask in the praise over that series, yet still let all their other characters languish in the dirt like this. This should have been an unacceptable comic to publish, yet the terrible thing about it is, it's not abnormal, actually. Teenie Howard who's written this comic, has gotten a lot of work writing Selina Kyle and Harley Quinn, and has gotten a lot of work in general at DC Comics and formerly Marvel Comics. This is her writing. This is the kind of writing that they put out there in, for example, Harley Quinn books. This is the kind of typical awful writing that you get, and I have actually read far, far, far worse than this, but it still continues. And this stuff is not popular. This stuff doesn't sell, yet it still continues. So how can I be celebrating DC Comics when they are still allowing unsellable crap like this to get out on the shelves and present their characters like this? But that is all I got for you guys today. What did you think of this video? Do you want me to continue covering Sirens Love Hurts and how they're portraying these characters? Once again, I did not spend a red cent on this comic. I might at least check out how they portrayed Poison Ivy and Absolute Batman so I can compare and contrast and be informed on that. Let me know in the comments below if you want.
Yeah, I just recently read the issue with Absolute Batman with Poison Ivy. Really good. Highly recommend. At some point, I'm going to cover not only the Absolute stuff with DC and what led up to it, but I also want to do so with the new Marvel Ultimate line and what led up to that and all the stuff involving those things. Don't know when, but that is the goal in the future. But anyway, I will see you guys in a little bit. Leave a comment below. Let me know what you guys think, how DC is treating Harley Quinn, and by extension, Poison Ivy, Black Canary, and Catwoman, because that is a problem. That's a big, big problem. And what kind of people that they're hiring in these comic book companies. Anyway, I'll see you guys soon. Take care.